So now we're going to talk a little bit about competitive analysis. Competitive analysis, in its simplest form, is identifying other similar products in the market, including the users that each product is targeting. Once you've identified all of the competing products, you'll want to try to understand each product's strategy. You can usually get a glimpse of this from using the product and looking at marketing materials. From there, you can identify the strengths and weaknesses of each product, what each product does really, really well, and where the product might run into issues. Having this insight allows you to better predict shifts in market behavior and trends. And because competitive analysis gives you a view into all the other key players in the market, you'll understand exactly how your product fits in, which in turn can help to inform your product strategy and how you can create advantages for your product. So what exactly does competitive analysis include? Well, competitive analysis can look at a lot of different factors, including things like funding, support, and global presence, just to name a few. But for product insights, I've found that it's most helpful to focus on the product offering and key features. What types of products does the competitor have, and what are the key features that make this product attractive to customers and stand out? It's also important to think about differentiators. What makes the competitors different from others that are in the space? As well as identifying who competitors are targeting. Who is that product really intended for? And how does the product get to the customer? What are the distribution channels that the competitor has? And lastly is price points. How exactly is the product priced? And how does that compare to our pricing strategy? So how do you go about starting to build a competitive analysis? Well, there's lots of different ways that you can get insight into competing products. The first place I usually start is at Google in order to get a better understanding of just what products exist and are out there. After I've spent a little bit of time searching, I'll review websites and marketing material to get a better sense of if the product is a competitor or not. And if it is a competing product, I'll generally want to try using it to really understand what it is and how it works. But you can also get a good sense of how well it's doing by reading reviews, both reviews that are written directly by customers, as well as reviews that you might find in a tech blog. And lastly, it's also really eye-opening to check out the associated social media presence. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of competitors. There are 3 different types of competitors. And if you think about products as doing a job for a user, you have a primary or a direct competitor. And in those cases, the products are doing the same job, mostly the same way, for the same set of users. So think of Android and iOS. That's a great example. They're both operating systems for mobile phones. You could also think of Netflix and Disney as being primary competitors. They both offer streaming entertainment services. Or Uber and Lyft, which are both ride-hailing apps. The next type of competitor is a secondary or indirect competitor. For these type of competitors, the products do the same job, but in a different way, and generally for a different type of user. So an example of indirect competitors would be Facebook Messenger and Slack. These are both messaging apps that you can use to stay in touch and communicate with other people. But the difference here is that Facebook Messenger is more designed for personal usage, whereas Slack is really designed for business usage and collaboration with teammates in a work environment. Another example of indirect competitors is coffee versus tea. These are both beverages and they both have caffeine, but people tend to have a strong preference for one versus the other. For example, if you really, really like coffee, tea is probably not a product that you would consider purchasing. The last type of competitor is a tertiary or replacement competitor. And in this case, the product does a different job, but it ends up competing for the same users. It's called a replacement because it has the potential for consumers to replace one product with another one. A really good example here is the DSLR versus the iPhone. The DSLR camera was designed to take high quality photos, Whereas the iPhone is a device that does a lot of different things, but it also has a camera. Over time, the iPhone has actually started to replace many types of digital cameras. And in fact, in 2015, the iPhone became the most popular camera on Flickr. So we just walked through different types of competitors and a couple examples of each one. When you're building your product strategy, understanding the competition is super important. So it's something you'll always want to keep in mind.